I've seen other artists transfer charcoal drawings into gel plates, and they make it look so easy, which immediately makes me suspicious. Today I'm trying it myself for the very first time. I have no idea whether this is actually going to work, so let's see what happens. This is the charcoal drawing I'm starting with. I drew it directly into this paper, and I used some charcoal that came in one of those sketching kits that I've accumulated over the years. I wish I could tell you exactly what brand of charcoal it is, but apparently past Germ did not anticipate future Germ having a YouTube channel. If I can track it down, I'll put it in the description. Basic idea seems almost too simple. You draw your image in charcoal, you place it face down on the gel plate, burnish it well, and the charcoal should transfer onto the plate. It should. That's an extremely important word in art. I've placed it face down and I'm pressing firmly on the plate. And right about here, I noticed that there's something I probably should have thought about before I started, and that was the air pockets. There's no turning back now. Actually, there would be, but that would make for a very terrible video. And there it is. We actually have charcoal on a gel plate. So far, so good. Now the question is whether I can actually get all of that back off the gel plate and onto something else. And notice it doesn't come off on my hands. Like it stays on the plate, which is cool. For this first layer, I'm keeping things really simple and using a parchment colored acrylic from Liquitex. I'm currently not sponsored by Liquitex, but I should be considering how much of the materials that I use. If anyone's out there putting good word for me, please do. This first attempt is mostly an experiment. I want to understand how the charcoal behaves before I start getting complicated with it, because I'm perfectly capable of making something unnecessarily complicated all by myself. I don't need the gel plate's help. I'm also using a wet wipe around the outside edge just to soften the border a little. I don't want this to look like a perfect rectangle when I pull it. I want the edges to disappear more naturally when I eventually incorporate this image into something else. I've decided that she needs just a little more contrast, so I'm adding some purple acrylic around the figure. Once again, it is Liquitex. I don't want to cover the charcoal image itself. I'm just really wanting to create an aura around her and something to separate the figure from whatever background I eventually put her against. Now I'm going back in with the wet wipe and pulling some of that purple away. I've tried to create those pointed shapes around the outside. They're almost like a comic book energy lines. I don't actually know what the proper artistic term for them is. Pointy, purpley things seems accurate, so we're going to go with that. For the pull itself, I don't want to add another opaque paint layer because I want this image to stay somewhat translucent. So instead I'm covering the plate with clear acrylic medium. I do plan on pulling it using the wet strengthened teabag paper that I just absolutely love. I love it because it's great for collage. It's great for just everyday, gel plate transfers or for sketchbooks. It's thin and slightly translucent, but it's also so much tougher than regular tissue paper. So this, I've just cut out the piece of it off rather than using, a large sheet, since the image itself is all that I need to pull off here. The scrap piece of paper is just going over since the entire gel plate wasn't covered by the teabag paper. This will be followed by my highly sophisticated piece of personal, professional printmaking equipment, the giant book. Keep everything flat while it dries. Okay, the medium is completely dry now. The book served its job honorably. Let's find out whether or not it worked. I'm going to peel the gel plate away from the paper rather than the paper from the plate. And, ooh, look at that. That is cool. It did. It actually worked. And honestly, it's transferred better than I expected it to. I definitely could have made some areas of the original charcoal drawing darker, especially around her face. That's exactly the kind of thing that I wanted to learn from this first experiment. The charcoal lines did transfer. The parchment paint does give it that aged look. And I like how the purple adds just enough separation from around the outside. Somehow that, Helena Bonham Carter hair survived this entire process. So I'm calling it a success. Now there is a downside. The charcoal does leave some residue behind on the gel plate. I've had this happen with using acrylic markers as well. And usually you just use some baby oil and it will remove most of the residue with some elbow grease. But the plate itself is fine. And yes, underneath that green, yellow looking stuff underneath is paint that's on the piece of paper underneath the gel. It's not actually part of the gel. Now that I know that the transfer worked, I want to add it to something else rather than just have it sit around on a piece of paper. I already have this page in my sketchbook that I made for an Art Heart Academy prompt based on repetition. I thought the background would be a really interesting contrast with the figure. So I'm going to add acrylic medium to the back of the tea bag paper, and I'm going to use that as the glue to attach it directly to the sketchbook background. Now I simply position her over the existing gel printed background and smooth everything down. And this is where I'm going to leave it for now. Once everything dries, after this covering with the additional acrylic medium, I'm going to come back and add some additional marks. It's just mainly fine liner work with a brush pen just to help make it pop out a little bit more. But for a first charcoal transfer experiment, I'm impressed. The biggest things I learned are, 1, use more charcoal than you think you're going to need. 2, make sure the drawing has really good contact with the gel plate. And 3, be prepared for a little cleanup afterwards. But the actual technique is surprisingly simple. And this is dangerous for someone like me because I'm thinking many things to do using this method. Yes, it transfers into a gel plate and it gives a completely different kind of mark than a laser or inkjet image transfers. If you'd like to see another way I've experimented with image transfers on a gel plate, I've got another video waiting right here just for you. Thank you and have a great day.